There was an agenda, there was a plan, a strategy all in place to kind of move forward to ensure that the next administration, Democratic administration, that they thought would be Clinton, would be successful in all their agendas. And so Podesta's playing, I believe, an influential behind-the-scenes role in promoting his signature issues of transparency and open government. So Obama said in a press conference, for a long time now, there's been too much secrecy in this city. The old rules said that if there was a defensible argument for not disclosing something to the American people, then it should not be disclosed. That era is now over. Starting today, every agency and department should know that this administration stands on the side not of those who seek to withhold information, but those who seek to make it known. End quote. The Obama administration has basically said here that they are going to come out, and they're going to hit the ground running, they're going to move aggressively and fast to declassify files and shake loose whatever's in there that they think ought to be released to the public. Both memoranda reflect Podesta's influence and response to the first challenge identified earlier, the need-to-know access that is denied to presidents and overclassification of files, including UFOs. Obama and presidential records, also another important initiative. On that very first day, January 21st, Obama issues the Executive Order 13489 that facilitates release of presidential records. Executive Order 13489 led to the release of approximately 250,000 pages of Ronald Reagan's records on April 13. So that's only 5 days ago. Another memo is the memo on scientific integrity. He issued the memo to promote transparency in the preparation, identification and use of scientific and technological information in policy making. His memorandum instructs federal agencies to make available to the public the scientific or technological findings or conclusions considered or relied on in policy decisions. Significantly, Obama's memorandum gives appropriate whistleblower protections in order to, quote, ensure the integrity of the scientific and technological information and processes on which the agency relies in its decision-making, end quote. So what this memorandum is basically identifying is that there's a lot of technological secrets that exist out there, and that as far as the Obama administration is concerned, they're going to promote transparency. That as far as any kind of sequestered technologies that might relate to some of the things that that have been seen in terms of UFO flight performance, you know, the kind of UFOs being able to kind of move from a standstill to kind of Mach 10 instantaneously, as Milton Torres described earlier, that those kinds of technologies, if they're being studied secretly in various by various contractors or secret projects, that these are things that the Obama administration is going to move to have made public, that they're going to promote openness on those. So Obama's memorandum makes possible the release of suppressed technological information concerning UFOs, deals with challenges number one, need to know, and challenge number 4, government contractors. Whistleblower Protection Enhancement Act of 2009, a very important initiative, that's been launched in both houses that protects whistleblowers who report abuses while working on national security issues and for federally funded contractors. Obama's indicated his support for the Act, which is still to pass the House. An earlier version was already passed by the Senate. What this Whistleblower Protection Act does for the very first time is that it protects whistleblowers from reprisal for reporting to internal managers abuses that they've seen or they've witnessed. That any whistleblower that reports this in the past has been subjected to penalties. And so now the Obama administration, through its support of the Whistleblower Enhancement Act, is signalling that it is going to ensure that any whistleblowers are given protection. And also whistleblowers from corporations, that's never been done before, that whistleblowers from corporations can come forward and also be protected because they are the ones that are performing federally funded contracts, and so the Whistleblower Protection Act argues that they should be also given this kind of protection. So what are some of the key personnel in the Obama administration? Dennis Blair, I think, is a very important person, retired Navy Admiral who was formerly in charge of the Pacific Command, the largest geographic command in the US, that's based in Honolulu, Hawaii. Blair is responsible for Obama's daily briefings. An important thing about Blair is that Blair has privately confirmed that aircraft carrier-sized USOs that travel at 200 knots are a major problem for the US Navy. He had a conversation with Bob Dean, something that Bob Dean told me at the International UFO Congress earlier this year, and fortunately it was made public by Project Camelot, so I don't have to keep it secret anymore. But basically, Dennis Blair did disclose that the Navy has real problems with aircraft carrier-sized USOs that travel at 200 knots, and the Navy's having a heck of a time trying to work out who they are, who they belong to. Another person is General James Jones, National Security Advisor. He's a retired Marine Commandant, briefly served as President of the Institute for 21st Century Energy. He was also a director on Boeing's Finance Committee at a time when it sought to release actively anti-gravity technology. That was rebuffed, but I know that in 2007 that Boeing did try to release anti-gravity technologies because they wanted to develop it for commercial use, but they were denied declassification. Jones was on that Boeing Finance Committee that I believe knew of it, and I think Jones would have been the point man. It would have made a lot of sense to be the point man for Boeing to see if he could shake loose some of these anti-gravity technologies. He wasn't successful, but nevertheless, a Department of Energy official did disclose this to Tom Valone, who then passed it on to others. Clinton at the Department of State. Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, is now responsible for US diplomacy. Podesta acted as an intermediary to ensure continued Clinton role in the White House and UFO ET disclosure. Her Rockefeller UFO involvement and interest in unifying humanity in response to ETs showing up suggests she wants to influence ET policy. I think Hillary Clinton knows enough about what's going on that, yes, the Clinton administration was shut out. If they played good, then they might be given some jewels, some information about UFOs. But I think Clinton is pretty sharp. I think she's very ambitious. I think she doesn't want to just be given some kind of, be given some information about UFOs. I think she really wants to play a role in setting policy on ETs, on UFOs. She wants to influence that, and as Secretary of State, she has a position to do just that. Leon Panetta at CIA, Clinton's Chief of Staff from 94-97. I think he was put into that position because he knew of the Rockefeller Initiative, he knew of the need to try to shake loose whatever the CIA had on UFOs, and Panetta was recommended by Podesta as the director of CIA, hoping, I believe, that he could succeed where James Woolsey failed in getting access to UFO files. And there's another element here that I wanted to kind of introduce, which is a covert Navy group. I think there is a role here that's being played by some military departments to disclose information concerning UFOs. On February 12, 2008, a serving US Navy officer with several decades of distinguished military service discloses the first of a series of UN meetings to discuss UFOs ETs. Contrary to what you may have heard from a lot of people, there has been independent confirmation of those meetings having gone forward. So the meetings have occurred at the UN and that they have been covered up, or there hasn't been kind of public confirmation of this, but nevertheless there's been multiple independent corroboration that those meetings did occur. This officer claims to be reporting to a covert Navy working group led by several admirals. So this is the serving US Navy officer who claims that he was given the go-ahead by a Navy working group led by a bunch of admirals to basically tell UFO researchers that, hey, guys, the UN is having secret meetings on UFOs. You should know about this. The credentials of the Navy officer have been checked by a number of researchers. I saw Bob Vanderklok is here. I've also checked his credentials. A number of other researchers have also done so. Dr. Bruce Maccabee, I think his verification of the credentials were very important. Dr. Maccabee was at work when he agreed to meet this Navy officer. He was at work at the US Naval Warfare Center where the Navy officer visited him unescorted. So obviously the Navy officer had the sufficient security clearance and he was in full dress uniform to be able to just walk up to the office of Dr. Bruce Maccabee at the Naval Warfare Center to just talk to him about his involvement in this this disclosure of UFO meetings at the UN.